Yes, people. It's your boy Shazad. We're back again on the finished article, All Things Wrestling, special episode reviewing AEW All Out. As people know, All Out was yesterday. What a blast it was. I watched it this morning on replay. One of the best pay-per-views I've seen in a long time. Surprising enough, Shaz actually watched it as well. He's not even up to date with AEW, and he decided it was that good of a show. He wanted to watch it because the hype behind CM Punk's first match and everything. Kenny Omega versus Christian Cage, Jericho versus MJF. Shaz was pumped. This guy wanted to stay up all night like we did for SummerSlam and watch it. But obviously we had work today, so we couldn't. But let me get the boy on. Yes, John Cena, what we saying?
Can't see me, bruh.
As you can see, people, we're back in our normal locations. We're not sat next to each other. My man's not making an appearance like John Cena like yesterday. We're live, kicking from our own homes, and we're absolutely buzzing after watching AEW All Out. So,
can you believe it? The fact that Shaz brought up a brilliant point. I've only recently just started watching it, and I basically jumped to the front of the queue to watch the pay-per-view, as Shaz mentioned, mainly to see CM Punk. But as everyone's aware,
this guy's a CM Punk mark. This guy. But yeah, what a show it was. I mean, from opening match to the end, it was just full of action-packed, spots and surprises all the way along. Like, what was the opening match? Eddie Kingston versus Miro, yeah?
Yeah.
What a brilliant match that was to open the show, man. These two.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. Match. That was a great match. I mean,
I've always liked watching Rusev, or as we call him now, Miro. I've always liked him because of his in-ring work in WWE. Even though his storylines were, well, let's not talk about his storylines. You know what I mean? Even though he wasn't in the best storylines, he was still having great matches.
You know what? His career in WWE started off well, but then it tapered off.
Yeah, and you know where it tapered off? When he was undefeated, United States champion, and magically John Cena buried him by beating him. And this is the problem in WWE. They let John Cena just bury literally every single superstar on that roster. But we're going to have a special episode just to talk about how shit John Cena is at backstage politics. We will do that eventually. But today we're talking about AEW. Let's forget about the negativity of WWE. Let's talk about AEW. Let's talk about the positives and a little bit of the negatives from All Out. So, again, like I said, first match, Miro, Eddie Kingston. Great match to start the show off. Second match, John Moxley. I can't remember who he was fighting. I can't remember the guy's name. He's not an AEW wrestler.
Satoshi Kojima.
There we go, Kojima.
Okay, Kojima went for a handshake.
Another great match that I thought, Eddie Kingston and John Moxley at the moment. I don't know if you've been watching AEW shows. They're like a little tag team right now.
Yeah.
And to have them fight back-to-back in back-to-back matches was really good. The only thing I was a little bit upset that Eddie Kingston lost because I think he deserves a title. His in-ring work's great. He's great on the mic. And the little comment that he said, was it Rampage, where he said, redeem these nuts? And then he brought it out on a T-shirt today, last night at All Out. That was brilliant.
I saw that. It was hilarious.
He laid out Miro at Rampage. I thought that was brilliant. Redeem these nuts. I thought it was brilliant. I can't remember what the third match was. Was it the tag team title match?
Yeah, so I think the next one that I can see is the women's championship.
Britt Baker, yes.
Chris DMD versus Chris Statlander.
Yeah, the alien from outer space she is. Yeah. I mean, some of the gimmicks are a bit out there, but the matches are the best that you'll see on pay-per-view, bro. I mean, this pay-per-view All Out, this was probably the best pay-per-view I've seen this year. And if I had to pick a pay-per-view to watch live till 5 a.m. on a Saturday or Sunday night, it would have been All Out and not SummerSlam.
Well, you know,
Because
the title gives it away. All Out, it literally was All Out explosive.
yeah, this is. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but All Out is like AEW's WrestleMania, or is that All In or something like that? I can't remember now. But to me, this was the biggest pay-per-view they have ever done. Mainly because of the matches and the caliber of matches that were on that card.
I mean,
yeah, you spoke about obviously Britt Baker and Chris
this
Statlander,
next
and that
match
was another good match.
Fantastic. The Young Bucks versus Lucha Brothers. Absolutely.
Come on, bro. We're not up to there yet, bro. Come on, bro. We're still talking about the earlier matches, bro. So, sorry, I've talked about the first two matches. I'll let you speak about obviously Eddie Kingston and Miro and John Moxley and Hajima, and then we'll move on from there, bro.
Yes, so I mean, as Shaz has alluded to, Miro versus Eddie Kingston, I thought that was a great fight. I actually enjoyed it, as Shaz said, talking about the promo leading up to All Out. And I think just the chemistry that you saw between these two wrestlers, it paved off well. And I think, you know what, I was actually glad that Miro won, considering I follow a lot of WWE and I'm starting to taper away from
WWE, Mike.
Exactly.
This guy and his WWE wrestlers. Just because you don't know Eddie Kingston, you're all right with him losing to Miro. Come on, bro. What's that about?
You got to give me a bit of credit. A few years ago, a few months ago, a few days ago, I wasn't even watching this. So,
to be fair, he's right there, people. This guy would not even touch anything unless it was WWE wrestling wise. And I'm not even lying. Since AEW came out, literally every time I talk to this guy about wrestling, right, it's just Shaz ranting to me about how upset he is with the WWE product. And I'm like, bro, forget WWE, watch AEW. And he's like, nah, I can't do it. Can't do it, bro. Can't do it. And now I challenged him to watch the first episode and he watched it and now he's hooked. Because that's how good AEW is compared to WWE.
No, absolutely. Right?
What did you think of the John Moxley match against Hajima, bro?
I thought that was sick. I love the fact that when Kojima tried to handshake at the start of the match, Moxley met him with a middle finger. Typical
Moxley style, innit?
It's, you know what, it's typical of how his character is. Just love the banter, and I thought that worked well. Enjoyed their fight. Great match. Moxley a suicide dive before focusing on Kojima's taped up hand. But you know what, it was just pure all out action, and for me, I couldn't really predict it. It's not like I could message Shaz and say, hey, you know what, the funny thing is, guys, if you know anything about me, the fact that I actually tagged Shaz in a comment today on, was it Facebook? Yeah, Facebook, and WWE. Is that guys?
This was hilarious. This guy actually tags in WWE, telling them that this is how you do a pay-per-view. This is how much the guy loved this pay-per-view, and this is how much he is now behind AEW, bro. It's just mad. He was tagging WWE in. I'm surprised he didn't freaking tag Vince McMahon on Twitter.
Oh, don't worry, we'll get there.
That's coming, people. If you want to follow Shaz, his Twitter, my Twitter, they're just here in the bottom corners. Follow this guy and watch him start tagging Vince McMahon soon and Triple H and everybody. He's gonna be tagging everybody.
We're gonna have beef with these boys. We're gonna make them sort their shit out. That's how this shit's gonna roll.
You wish, bro. You wish they'd sort their shit out, so you wouldn't have to watch AEW
you know what?
again.
You know what? It's their loss because Shaz got me hooked on AEW and now I can't stop talking about it. So hey, there's
what can I say, bro? What can I say? I mean, it's not my fault you're hooked on it, though, is it? It's the wrestling, the quality is better than WWE. That's why you're hooked on it, bro.
Not only that, he's also got me hooked on his famous Accrington pizzas.
Oh yes, this guy loves them pizzas.
You can't.
This guy's on it. This guy's on it. I'm not going to mention the name of the takeaway because we're not promoting takeaways here, people. But if you want to know which takeaway it is, drop us a DM on Twitter and I'll let you know. But this guy blaming me that he's hooked on pizzas from this certain takeaway in our town. It's just like, bro, it's not my fault you like food, innit?
No, that's true. But anyway, sorry. I delve.
Well, let's get back to the topic at hand.
Yeah.
Let's move on, Shaz. What was the next match? Did you say it was Britt Baker DMD versus Chris Statlander for the AEW Women's Championship? Yeah.
Yeah, correct. So
Your thoughts?
Interesting. I actually thought this was one of the most refreshing women's championship matches I'd seen in a while. Certainly mixed it up.
So I don't know if you watched Rampage.
Yeah, I did.
But Chris Statlander had a 2-on-1 handicap match against Britt Baker's two friends, and the move that she did where she was holding both of them and slammed them down. The sheer power was just mad, bro.
No, it was.
I was quite surprised she didn't win this match. I was expecting to see a shock title change in this match. But saying that, we saw the shock title change in the match after in a Lucha Bros versus the Young Bucks in a steel cage tag team match.
I enjoyed this.
No, I can't start to describe how much I love this match, right? So I love tag team wrestling, right? WWE do tag team wrestling in a bad way to me. So it's very predictable. So the way it works in WWE is you have the heels dominate one of the faces. He almost makes a tag. They pull him back. He makes the hot tag to his partner. His partner clears house, and then they win.
Yeah,
that's WWE's tag team matches. And I know AEW does do that, but AEW does it a slightly different way because it's not always predictable that they're going to do it.
No, that's true.
And this match, the way you could win this match, the only way you could win it was inside the steel cage. It wasn't you can climb out the steel cage and win. So when I saw Rey Fenix climb the cage, I thought, oh shit, this guy's going to do something crazy because that's what he's like. And he did. He jumped off the top and cross-bodied everybody. What a nut job this guy is. You need to carry on watching AEW from the start, Shaz, and just watch Rey Fenix's matches going
that's
forward,
what I'm doing. I'm currently going through it, so I will be catching up on that.
There's a world title eliminator tournament. I won't spoil it about who wins and what, but the match in there, watch Kenny Omega versus Rey Fenix. Classic match, bro. Very good match. There's some other good matches, but I'm going to just let you watch from the start and catch up, just so you can watch them and be amazed by it without me saying, watch this match, because you're going to enjoy it more when you don't know what's going on.
No, that's true. But
now, I wasn't really expecting the Lucha Bros to win the tag team titles. I was expecting the Young Bucks to maybe win this match and drop them at the next pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. But like I said, the AEW does things differently. They put a bit of twist and turns here and there, and I think this was a great way to end this rivalry, or maybe start this new rivalry again between the Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros. Because the Lucha Bros do deserve the tag team titles.
At least it wasn't predictable like WWE. I mean, we'll say that much.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly, bro.
On your toes, so I can't complain.
Exactly, bro. I mean, I think after the steel cage match, we had the women's casino battle royal.
Yeah, so actually,
the casino battle royal, right? The way AEW do it, bro, it is different because they have the 4 suits, and each person is drawn a suit. So when your suit's drawn, you all come together, which is a different way of entering a battle royal because you get 5 people in one go. And then you have the wild card, which obviously in this one was Ruby Riott. Or is it what was the name in AEW? Ruby Soho, which was her name on the indies anyway. So great way to debut her. And obviously, as soon as she debuted, I'm like, well, they can't debut a new superstar and have her lose. So she went ahead and won. And I think maybe she'll be the one that takes the title from Britt Baker.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Who knows, bro? Who knows? This is AEW. Anything can happen in AEW, people. Anything can happen in AEW. What were your thoughts on this match, though, Shaz? The Casino Battle Royal and the format of it? Because this is probably the first time you've seen the Casino Battle Royal.
I thought it was refreshing. Definitely something I hadn't seen before. And the surprises kept rolling on with Ruby Riott or Ruby Soho popping up. I'm like, geez, bro, you're just shoving it in my face, aren't you? You're like taking them from there and putting them over there. You're like,
now that you're here, Shaz, they're all coming. And we'll get on to the other two. We'll get on to the rest of them later, bro. Don't worry about that.
Can I make up one analogy? So me and Shaz talk about football, and one of the funniest memes that Shaz shared to me was Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but it wasn't the film. Basically, it was Mbappe standing there with practically nobody in the house except for the
yeah. I
This
remember
is
that one.
this is the same image I picture with Vince McMahon standing there, and
And there's no one around him.
There's no one around him. Because...
Just to give some context on that, the picture he's talking about is where Will Smith is stood in the house, the manor of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air on his own in the last episode, and there's just no one around him.
Yeah.
And there was a meme about it with Mbappe. Oh no, it wasn't Mbappe. It was Sergio Aguero at Barca, and there was like no Messi around him because he went there for Messi. It was something like that. But yeah, I get where you're going with that. Like Vince McMahon's going to be stood there on his own because he's going to have no one around him, because he just treats his talent like shit.
Yep, exactly.
Plain and simple, innit? He does. I mean, he's a great businessman. He knows how to make money, but people-wise, management, he's shit.
Talent-wise, it's just rubbish.
If he looked after his talent more, half of these wrestlers in AEW wouldn't even be in AEW. They would have stayed with WWE.
Yeah.
To them, it's about they're being loyal to WWE by being there for years and years and putting in work. And then they just get treated like shit. And there's no loyalty back from WWE to them. But in AEW, they look after the talent and they're loyal back. If you're loyal to AEW, they're loyal back. It's like you said, Chaz, that it's like a brotherhood at AEW. They're all really close. They're connected. I mean, I know obviously you already know, but when Brody Lee passed away, it shook the whole locker room.
Yeah.
Because they were all really close to him.
You know, the funny thing, that's a comment I made yesterday. So for those that didn't tune into yesterday's episode, definitely go check it out. It was a cracker.
Yeah, my man did his John Cena impression. You got to check that out.
So basically, the comment I was making about CM Punk saying the brotherhood in AEW is because, as Chaz alluded to, WWE just kept putting him in matches, and this goes back to the well-being.
Well, with CM Punk, bro, it wasn't about the matches. It was the fact that he wasn't really medically cleared to wrestle. He had a staph infection, which was getting worse and worse. And the WWE doctors were clearing him to wrestle because Vince McMahon and WWE needed him to wrestle because he was the main man. He was bringing in, the pay-per-view buys, the views, the audiences. So for him to be injured, it would have cost them money. So instead of looking after CM Punk, letting him recoup, but letting him get healthy and come back, they thought, no, we're going to just get the doctors to clear you to wrestle. And I think at this moment in time, CM Punk is still in a legal case against one of the doctors.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Because I remember when he left, he sued one of the doctors or the doctor team, the medical team. Within WWE. And I don't even know if that court case is finished because obviously court cases can drag out and,
they probably could,
they can take a while. But madness, bro. What was the match after the women's casino battle royal?
So this was Chris Jericho versus MJF.
This match. I mean, I've watched Jericho since his WCW days. This was in the 90s.
Yeah.
So I've watched Jericho from literally the start of his. But with WCW, I know he was in ECW before that, but we didn't really have ECW, over in the UK. So when the first time I saw him was when he was in WCW, and I thought he was a great character.
Yeah.
He was young. He had a lot of energy, a lot of charisma about him in WCW. And when he left and he made that debut in WWE, now you have to understand, at the time he made that debut against The Rock was one of the biggest WWE or WWF superstars at the time. And to have a young kid like Jericho come in and make his debut against The Rock and go back and forth on the mic with him the way they did, it was brilliant. And it showed WWE had trust in Jericho.
Yeah.
And the second time they showed trust in him is there's a couple of other times they showed trust in him. I don't know if you remember this, Shaz, but there was a match on Raw Triple H versus Jericho for the WWF Championship, and Jericho won it.
Yeah.
And then they had the referee reverse his decision like it never happened. And that to me showed WWE wanted to test the water to see how the fans would react to Jericho being the champion. And then years down the line, they made him the first ever undisputed champion in WWE when he beat The Rock and Stone Cold. This guy beat The Rock and Stone Cold in the same night to become the undisputed champion. Now, who else can say you beat Rock and Austin in the same night and became the undisputed champion? No one. Only Chris Jericho can say that. And only Chris Jericho can say he was the first ever AEW champion.
Very true.
So this match was an important match. I had the feeling that Jericho was going to lose and retire because of his age. But and I didn't want to see that because I absolutely love Jericho. On the mic, he's absolutely brilliant. In the ring, he's still okay. Let me say it in a different way. He's not as good as he was in the Attitude Era or his last few runs in WWE because of his age. Obviously,
that's not true.
It's taken a toll on his body, so he's had to change his ring, like the moves that he does and the way he works. And I think he's done a great job in changing that. And from WCW or ECW, WCW, WWE, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, wherever he has wrestled, he's changed his gimmick so many times. So he started off as the Ayatollah of Rock and Roller, where Raw is Jericho. Then he moved on to the gimmick of where he was like, where after he won the Undisputed Championship, he was like the best in the world at what I do.
Yeah.
And then New Japan Pro Wrestling, he was the Painmaker. And now he calls himself the Demo God and whatever else he's called himself. He's always reinventing himself in each different place. And he's pulled it off so much. He's always over with the crowd no matter what gimmick he uses. And there was a chant for Jericho in AEW where they were chanting Y2J, which is obviously part of one of his older gimmicks.
Yeah.
And he actually said he doesn't like people chanting that. And he said it to the crowd, I don't like it when you chant that. Or he said something, he goes, that's dead and buried. Do you know what I mean? That's the old Jericho, not this Jericho. And since then they've started chanting Jericho. And obviously they sing his I don't know if you've seen him do it, but they sing his song as he comes to the ring, Judas. It's such a catchy song, bro. Watch the fans sing that as he's coming to the ring, and watch the match. I think it was a couple of weeks ago on Dynamite. Jericho versus MJF. Jericho couldn't have his Judas song, so no entrance to the ring, and he couldn't use the Judas elbow, which is his finisher. So from the top of the ramp to the bottom, the crowd sang the whole song, bro. That's how over Jericho is. They sang his whole song from the top of the ramp to the ring from start to finish, bro. That's how over he is with this crowd. And to me, Jericho winning this was absolutely amazing. I was buzzed that Jericho won this. And then to see the inner circle, see the inner circle come and hug him after, brilliant, man. I love the inner circle, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the best stables going.
Yeah, right now it is.
Right now they're the best stable going. I mean, I get people like the Elite, right? I mean, the Elite are a great faction, but to me, Inner Circle are miles better. What were your thoughts on the match, Jericho MJF?
Oh no, great fight. As she has already touched upon, known Jericho from his old WWE days, watched him in WCW as well, and just great. In fact, when most of these guys left and shifted, I didn't even know what brand they'd gone to, so I wasn't really interested.
This guy only knows people in WWE, and when they leave WWE, to him, it's like they're dead. He doesn't know what they're doing, where they've gone, or nothing. Until I introduced him to AEW, and he's like, "Oh shit, Jericho's still alive."
Yeah, they're alive and well, apparently.
Man's still alive, yeah, man.
But yeah, no, great.
Hager's still alive. Bro, CM Punk's still alive. Did you know?
I'm finding out. I'll find out more as I go along. But yeah, great match.
I
Enjoyed
thought it
that.
was brilliant. I thought it looked at some point that MJF was going to win.
Mm,
Where he put is it the Salt of the Earth arm breaker on Jericho?
yeah,
On his injured arm as well. It looked like he was going to win there, but you know what I mean? Jericho's Jericho, in it. Jericho does what he does best.
indeed, bro. Indeed.
What was the next match? I can't remember the order of matches, bro.
So the
That's what I'm
next
asking.
was CM Punk versus Darby Allin.
I'm going to let you talk about this one first. I'm going to let you talk about your boy CM Punk, in it.
Well, I think this is the highlight of the night for me in terms of matches. This is why I essentially stayed up to watch All Out.
Hold on. Did you stay up last night to watch it?
No, I was like falling into sleep. That's why today's been a really long day. So I had.
Bro, if you're going to stay, you should have told me. I would have stayed up. We could have just watched it here.
We could have done it.
No,
It was just
man.
it's just a
You're
spread
telling
moment.
me, now, literally nearly 24 hours after it was about to start, that you're staying up to watch it, bro. Yo, my man's chipped. My man's chipped. But no, he's not chipped. He's just having some technical difficulties, peeps. But yeah, CM Punk versus Darby Allin. This match was brilliant. These two hadn't even done a move at the start when Darby Allin was sat in the corner. CM Punk sat down in the ring, and the crowd were chanting, "This is awesome," or "Holy shit." And that's how hyped they were for this match. They hadn't even touched each other. They hadn't even started fighting yet. The bell hadn't even rung. And the fans were chanting, "Holy shit." This was a great match as well. CM Punk hasn't lost a step. There were a couple of parts where he made a couple of little mistakes because obviously he's not wrestled in 7 years. He's going to be a little bit out of touch. But there were very unnoticeable things that happened where I think he was doing an Irish whip from one turnbuckle to another and he missed grabbing Darby Allin's arm. So obviously, yeah, CM Punk hasn't wrestled in 7 years. So there were a little bit of things where you could tell he hadn't wrestled in 7 years, but he made up for it with this match. I don't know if you heard what I was saying though, Shaz. Even before these two guys even started the match, when Darby Allin was sat on the floor in the corner, Jericho was sat in the middle, the crowd were actually chanting, "Holy shit." And they hadn't even touched each other. They were just staring at each other.
Yeah,
That's how intense this match was, and the fans loved it. And I loved it. I watched this match start to finish. I didn't forward a second of it. This match had me hooked. And the only reason it had me hooked is because of CM Punk and Darby Allin. If this was CM Punk against anybody else, maybe I would have forwarded it. But this match was the perfect match for his comeback. He hit the GTS and Darby Allin fell out the ring, and I thought, oh crap, this could be going wrong for CM Punk, but he pulled it off. He hit a GTS towards the end and finished it. The ending was really good where Sting came out, they shook hands, Darby Allin shook hands with CM Punk. Great sportsmanship. What's next for CM Punk? Do you know what I mean? I mean, I'm going to let us talk about all the matches, and I'm going to tell you what I want to see for CM Punk next. After this, it was Paul White versus QT Marshall. I don't know why this match was before the main event. I really don't understand. I thought CM Punk and Darby Allin should have been the core main event, not Big Show versus QT Marshall. But this was Big Show's debut in AEW as well. You've got to remember, this was his first match in AEW since he signed, because he was only signed as a commentator.
Yeah.
But obviously it's Big Show. He's going to get in the ring eventually, innit? I thought it was good. Obviously, it wasn't a long match because Big Show's had a hip replacement. He wasn't going to be able to stay in there too long. You know, he did what he needed to do. He took a little bit of a beating. He came back. He cleaned house on all three, like the other two stooges that came in. And then he hit his finisher and finished the game off. Do you know what I mean? I thought it was a great way to maybe they did this match between the core main events. Because obviously after the CM Punk and Darby Allin, the fans were so hyped.
Yeah.
They put a match in there that wasn't too long and it wasn't full of spots to calm the crowd down a little. And then they brought out the big guns and Christian Cage and Kenny Omega. Now, this match, man, this was such an amazing match. It was so back and forth.
Back and forth, yeah.
Now, there's a little bit of the match where Kenny Omega messed up, where he was trying to do the moonsault off the fencing outside, and he slipped into the crowd. But then he did it anyway. He jumped on, spun around, and did it anyway. And this type of stuff happens. You have to improvise because you can't really do a jump up onto a moonsault and like that out there because it's very risky because the metal could be slippy from what people have put there. And I think that's how he slipped. But then he got up and he did it anyway.
Yeah, as
I thought it was brilliant. I was quite gutted that Christian didn't win this because Christian to this point was undefeated in AEW. I would have liked to see him win this title. Obviously, he's the TNA Impact Wrestling Champion. And I would have liked to see him being undefeated for maybe a couple of more months before someone beat him for one of the titles. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, we all saw the match. You tell me your thoughts on the match, Shaz. Not just this one, but the CM Punk one, QT Marshall and Big Show, and this. I've talked about all three of them. I'll give you a chance to catch up, bro. And then we'll talk about what happened after the main event once we spoke about the matches. So
in a nutshell, I won't keep people too long because I know it's quite late. But in a nutshell, CM Punk, like as I mentioned, was the match of the night for me. So this is part of the reason why I was watching the pay-per-view. And you know what? It was just great to see him back in the ring. I thought he played well with Darby Album. And they complemented each other quite well. Yeah. And I think what you can see there is that CM Punk has a lot to give. So what he's doing is he might have had a bit of ring rust, fair enough, but you'll start to see as matches go on and him develop.
The more and more matches he has, the more
he'll get back.
He's going to get back to what he was.
And I think in terms of the chemistry between Darby Allin and CM Punk, I thought it worked well. I, as always, enjoyed the fitting tribute at the end when Sting came to the ring. Everybody shook hands. So for me, it vindicated the fact that it was just all out epic.
There was no hard feelings at the end of the match, which is what you like to see.
And
I think the reason they did that is because they're both face, aren't they? Neither of them are heel.
Exactly.
And I think that's why they had that moment where they shook hands to let the fans know. Neither of these are heel. They're both faces, but this is a match that they both wanted.
No, that's fair enough. And then we had Big Show come back again. And that surprises just keeps carrying on. Like I said, Shaz said, I saw him on commentary before. And I think this was just a nice way to warm up and bring him into the action. As Shaz said, after seeing CM Punk and Darby Allin, crowd did need something to taper and calm them down before
the main event, definitely.
Kenny Omega and Christian, and just a nutshell on this. It was back and forth. I actually wanted Christian Cage to win. So I thought he was going to stay undefeated and carry on. Wasn't meant to be, but again, the dynamics were great. And I actually got to see who Kenny Omega was for a change.
Yes. Is that the first Kenny Omega match you've really seen?
Yeah.
Since he's been champion? Because I know you've watched AEW from the start so far, and you've seen the Kenny Omega that was at the start, which was the face. He was the face at that point. But he's a heel now. He's a leader of the Elite. And I think this is the first match you've seen since he's as a heel, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So it was just great to see that dynamic.
A question that I want to ask you, bro, is then what do you think of the difference between the face and the heel Kenny Omega? Because you've probably seen more recent face matches of Kenny Omega than anybody because you've started watching AEW from the start.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I don't actually mind this heel side of Kenny Omega. I think it works well in terms of how he brings the crowd into it. And one thing I'll bring, because I haven't really explained this. At the start, I never really understood what heel versus face was. So this is something that I used to think that what is the difference between a heel and a face? And when
good
you
guy and bad guy, bro.
Huh?
It's the good guys and the bad guys.
No, I understand that, but the context of how they used it in
WWE, right, okay.
In wrestling. So I was like, but why would you have him turn bad, or why would you have him turn good? As we talked about on WWE the other day, there's a reason why Roman Reigns is heel, because it suits his character and his nature.
Yes,
similarly with certain characters, and then you start to realize they're just as popular as guys that are face, because It fits their character profile.
Yeah, exactly. So certain characters are better faces and some are better heels. Like Roman Reigns, he's one of the worst. He's one of the worst faces WWE have ever had, but he's probably one of the best heels they've ever had. So it counters it. He's a really good heel, but he's a really bad face. And to me, it's similar with John Cena. John Cena isn't a good face. I think John Cena would be miles better as a heel and going back to the Dr. Thugonomics gimmick, because that he was over as Dr. Thugonomics. And I think having a heel person like that coming out doing a freestyle rap, dissing people, that fits a heel. Yeah. And I think if John Cena did that, it'd be brilliant. But this is WWE. They're never going to do it. Someone to watch out for in AEW further down, Max Caster. He's part of a tag team called The Acclaimed. He comes out and does a rap. He does his little rap. So that's something you'll like, Shaz, because when I saw him do it, it reminded me of John Cena doing the Thugonomics, but this guy did it at the start of every match. He'd come out, diss his opponents, and then fight, which was brilliant. Someone to watch out for. And watch out for a tag team called Top Flight. They're a tag team. I think they're both brothers. They're quite young. They're like 19, 20, 21, but they're really good, man. Such high flyers. They're really good, man. You'll enjoy watching them. But we're going to get on to what happened after the main event. I don't think I need to tell anybody. Adam Cole, baby, is back, but he's in AEW. What did I tell people? This guy is turning up in AEW. He's not going back to WWE after the way they treat him at the end of his contract. I loved it. The way they brought him back, they turned the lights off, his music came on, they gave him his moment with the fans as a face, and then instantly he was a heel. He joined the Elite by super kicking Jurassic Express's Jungle Boy. Yeah. And I thought that was brilliant. Then he had his little promo saying it's story time with Adam Cole. And then I don't know if you noticed it, Shaz, right? But his last line, he said something as like, and there's no chance in hell. That was a shot at Vince McMahon.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Because after he said it, look at the reaction of the people in the ring with him, like Luke Gallows and the other people. They were like, ooh, one of them, he took a shot at WWE there. And I think it was a shot at Vince McMahon. But then everyone thought the pay-per-view was over at that point, people, right? I thought it was over. I'm not even going to lie to you. I thought it was over at that point. And then your boy, the guy I don't even like, right? Bryan Danielson, a.k.a. Daniel Bryan from WWE, decided to debut and take the thunder away from Adam Cole. Now, I think having two people debut at the same time like that was a bit silly, right? So they've had this they've had Daniel Bryan ready to debut for a while, even before CM Punk, and that's probably and I think he was meant to debut today anyway. But debuting Adam Cole so quickly after his WWE release, I don't know why they did both of them at the same time. They could have held Adam Cole back maybe a month to the next pay-per-view. But then, obviously, the guy probably wants to get in the ring and do his thing in it. So I get why they've done it so quickly. For him to join the Elite straight away, again, I don't understand the reasoning behind that. Adam Cole came out and said the Elite is the best stable or best group of people in the business, but I disagree. The best group in the business for me was Undisputed Era, and he was the leader of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me I'm wrong, Shaz, right? But this whole Undisputed Era having all the titles, this is just what the Elite are doing.
Yeah.
So they've taken that from the Undisputed Era.
Yeah, of course they have.
Because they've got the TNA Tag Team Championships on Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Mm-hmm. They had the AEW Tag Team titles on the Young Bucks, and then Kenny Omega had about 3 or 4 different World Championships. I think he was at one point he had the AAA Championship, AEW Championship, the TNA Championship, and the TNA Championship had 2 belts. There's a TNA and an Impact one, so he had 4 belts at one point.
Yeah, he did.
And that's why they called him the belt collector.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So, as a WWE mark, Chaz, that's what I'm going to call you, bro, a WWE mark, right? What are your thoughts on Adam Cole jumping ship and Daniel Bryan jumping ship?
Well, I've got no problems with it. Adam Cole, as we've talked about, he never really got utilized.
Baby.
He didn't really get utilized. He was just stuck in NXT.
That's it. And I think that's why he left, because he was sick of just being in NXT. And I think he knew if he went to the main roster, he wasn't going to do well.
I always said his talent was being wasted because they never used him. Yeah, Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, whichever one you want to call him.
I didn't like him when he left WWE because he was getting title shot after title shot after title shot. And now he's in AEW. I guarantee he's going to get, guess what, Shaz? A title shot against Kenny Omega. I guarantee he's the next person in line. Even though Adam Page is the #1 contender, Daniel Bryan will get a title shot before him. How does that even work? And if that happens, AEW are doing just exactly what WWE are doing. They're bringing people in and they're giving them title shots. They did it to Goldberg. They've done it with Brock Lesnar. They've done it with John Cena. But an AEW are going to be doing it with Daniel Bryan. And I don't think he deserves that, because Christian didn't get a title shot straight away. Christian came, he beat people week in, week out and earned his title shot.
Mm-hmm.
CM Punk hasn't had a title shot. He could have come. CM Punk was probably the biggest draw AEW have had since they've started. He could have come back and demanded a title shot for his first match, but he didn't. He wants to start and build his win streak up and then get a title shot. And I think Daniel Bryan should do the same. Adam Cole, obviously, he's not going to get a title shot, but I see Adam Cole turning on Kenny Omega and asking for a title shot soon.
Yeah, well, one way.
I see Adam Cole going heel straight away, because he's a better heel than he is face. When he was the leader of the Undisputed Era, when they were heel, that was his best period. But we've got a comment here, Shaz, from Darren. Mm-hmm. How are they going to give this talent a platform to perform every week? AEW have 4 shows right now. Monday, they've got Dark Elevation on YouTube. Then they've got Elevation on Tuesday. Wednesday, they've got Dynamite, and then Rampage on Friday. So Dynamite's 2 hours and Rampage is 1 hour. So that's 3 hours of TV time. And then the YouTube, whatever they put on YouTube, they can make that as long as they want.
Yeah.
I mean, I think some episodes of Dark Elevation have been like close to 3 hours, like a pay-per-view, because they're the dark matches before pay-per-views, and they want to give their talent the platform to wrestle in front of the crowd. So the crowd come early, they watch the dark matches, and then they're used on Dark and Dark Elevation. And the wins and losses on Dark and Dark Elevation actually go towards their win-loss record in AEW.
Yeah.
Yes, people. Thanks, Kev, for tuning in again. We saw you yesterday. Appreciate you coming back. This next comment, Shaz showed me this the other day. And I don't think it is them reacting to CM Punk's debut, because I've seen the video of Seth Rollins and the New Day reacting, and it's the exact same video, but it's just in the bottom corner, they've put the CM Punk debut. I think someone's just edited it and made it, because you showed it me, and I thought straight away, no, that's not real, because that video of the reaction is real, but they're not actually reacting to AEW's debut of CM Punk. I might be wrong. It might be a new video where they are reacting to him. But that reaction video, I'm going to have a look into it and see if it is real, because if it is, you know what I mean? You can tell me I'm wrong, innit?
No, it's just funny, because if it is real, then it was hilarious to see.
I think it could be real. It could be. But like I said, I have seen them all in that order, sat the way they were, reacting to something else similar. So, and I think that's where they've got that footage from. And then at the bottom corner, they've just changed it. What's this next one? Where will Bray Wyatt go, do you think? It's a tough one. That's a tough one. Bray Wyatt is taking, I mean, the reason he asked for his release in WWE, as we spoke about before, is because of his mental health issues that he's had since he lost his friend Brody Lee. And And I don't think he's getting. I don't think it's going to be a quick, recovery for him. He's taking it quite bad, and I think it's going to take a while for him to be back. And I would like to see him back in WWE. I will be honest. The Fiend has unfinished business in WWE, and I think he should be back in WWE, doing what he did there. I mean, if he was going to go back to WWE, I don't see why they would release him unless they didn't want to keep him on the books and just pay him while he's sat at home on sick leave, basically. Maybe he asked for his release because he thought it wouldn't be fair to be paid while he's not working. That's a conversation between obviously WWE and Bray Wyatt. But I would like to see him back in WWE. But I've got a funny feeling he could end up in AEW. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, Shaz, his brother, Bo Dallas, has been released from WWE, hasn't he?
Yeah, correct.
So I would really like to see them two team up. Brother duo. I think they'd be pretty good together. Bo Dallas was, in NXT, was brilliant, but when they brought him up to the main roster, he just flopped because they gave him a really bad gimmick. And the same really happened with Bray Wyatt. He came up as Husky Harris.
I remember that.
And then he went back to NXT. He started the Wyatt family with Eric Rowan and Luke Harper, and then he got moved to the main roster, and that's where he really shone.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny you mentioned Husky Harris because I was thinking about when he was Husky Harris to how he ended up as Bray Wyatt, and I think that's a huge transformation to see him develop and then build out his character, which Bray Wyatt actually suits him perfectly.
Oh, no, 100% it does, bro. It does. Kev, what's Kev saying here? I'm surprised you all hate Jim Cornette. I don't really hate Jim Cornette. I just think he talks a lot of shit. I wouldn't say I like him or dislike him. I just don't really listen to his podcast, and I don't really take any interest into what he does. What about you, Shaz?
I don't really have an opinion on this yet because I need to still catching up with it. That's why I say.
Yeah. So we've got all the NXT stars get a Raw deal on the main roster. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, no, I think I read that wrong. I thought you meant Raw as in Raw the show, but I think you mean they got a really bad deal on the main roster.
Yeah.
I think that's what he's trying to say there. I might be wrong, but yeah, I mean, quite a lot of the NXT superstars got a bad deal on the main roster. A couple that I think didn't would be The Shield. The Shield did really well when they came up. Seth Rollins is still doing well. Roman Reigns, obviously, we spoke about him quite a lot. And obviously, Dean Ambrose he left and now he's in AEW. Who else, man? Who else has come up from NXT? Big E.
Yeah.
I think Big E, when he first came up, he was the bodyguard to Dolph Ziggler with AJ Lee by his side.
Yes, he was.
Then he went singles, and then he got lost in the shuffle for a bit. But then he came back as the New Day with Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, and I think he's killed it since then. Who else has come up from NXT? Ascension. They got absolutely annihilated on the main roster. They're actually a tag team on the Indies called The Awakening. They were on someone's podcast that I watched about a week ago, doing an interview with him. And they were talking about I don't know if you know this, but to this day, the Ascension are still the longest reigning NXT tag team champions. To this day, no one's beaten their record. Not even the Undisputed Era did.
No, that's I heard vaguely about it. There's no way.
Another tag team that I think got absolutely destroyed on the main roster was the Authors of Pain. They were absolutely amazing in NXT with Paul Ellering as their manager.
There's the one that I'm most disappointed about because I really
that's
thought
what I'm saying, bro. I mean, in NXT, they were amazing, bro. Undefeated. They had Paul Ellering as their manager, and he was a great speaker for them. But then they moved him to the main roster without Paul Ellering. And then they had, what's he called? Rockstar Spud. What's his name? Drake Maverick, sorry. They had him as their manager. And I think it was just ridiculous. And then They got lost in the shuffle a bit, but I think one of them got injured, and when they came back, they sided with Seth Rollins for a little bit.
Yes, correct.
And then they disappeared again. Just randomly, they disappeared off TV, and now they're not even in WWE. I think in AEW, that would be a monster tag team to have them in AEW. They would destroy that tag team division. That tag team division in AEW is about high flying and high flyers right now. And for a tag team like Authors of Pain to come in, they would absolutely annihilate all them high flyers, bro. I don't know if they will, because I don't even know if they're wrestling anymore.
No, I haven't heard from them.
I've not heard that they've been wrestling anymore. But the same with the Ascension. I didn't even know they were wrestling anymore. And what's the guy called? Damien Sandow, who played the Mizdow. He's actually in NWA.
Oh, wow.
He's in the NWA promotion. I was watching a bit of wrestling earlier, and I was flicking through NWA for a bit, and he was in there. So is Chris Masters.
I remember
Chris Masters is in there. And what's he called? I don't know if you know him. He was the TNA champion, Magnus. He used to be, he was actually a British, he was on the new Gladiators. You remember the Gladiators show, Shaz, on ITV?
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the Gladiators there. And then he went to TNA and wrestled there and became their champion. And now he's the champion in NWA. He's the NWA heavyweight champion, I think. Or he was before. I don't know if he still is now. But he's there. Mickey James is there. And there's quite a lot of other people that I recognize in NWA. But the NWA promotion has gone back to basics with wrestling. So it looks and feels like a really old school wrestling when you're watching it. The ring looks normal. There's no flashy lights. There's no flashy entrances. And it just looks like it used to back in them days. So it's a bit of a nostalgic act for people who've liked I think the 80s style wrestling. We've got a comment here. I find him someone who speaks the truth about how the wrestling business has flopped and how he used to be in the business. So he's referring to Jim Cornette. So he does speak the truth, but I think he just chats a lot of shit. I just don't like him for some reason. I wouldn't say I don't like him. I just dislike some of the stuff that he says. But if you want to hear people talk about the truth and how the wrestling business has flopped, you're on the right podcast for that, people. That's what we're here for. That's what we do here, people. We talk about the truth about everything, bro.
If you want more truth, then there's no further truth than the guy sat next to me. He says how it is. This is the show for reality shows.
So I don't get this comment. He's referring to AEW as a flop, and I don't see AEW as a flop. Did you watch All Out, bro?
Yeah, that's a bit strange.
So, Kev, did you actually watch AEW All Out, CM Punk's return, and the great matches on the AEW pay-per-view? I mean, I'm guessing you didn't, because if you did, you wouldn't be saying AEW is a flop. Since AEW has started, they beat NXT in ratings on a weekly basis, and NXT had to change the day that they were on to a Tuesday instead of a Wednesday. And now AEW are smashing ratings week in and week out. Right, so you didn't watch the All Out pay-per-view, right? So what I want you to do, dude, if you can, watch the AEW All Out pay-per-view from last night and tell me what was wrong with that pay-per-view, what you disliked about it. You can't say AEW is a flop if you haven't been watching it. You haven't watched it for 9 months. That's the problem. You can't say something is bad that you haven't watched for 9 months. That's like me not watching WWE for a year and saying, Shaz, I hate WWE. It's crap. When you were like, Shaz, you haven't watched it in a year. How can you say that? You can't say that you've not watched AEW for 9 months and then say it's a flop. I'm sorry. I can't take that seriously. It's like you've watched, let's say, Shaz, let's say you watched, let's say I didn't watch Fast 9, the movie, right? And then I went out and told everyone Fast 9 is crap. And people are like, oh, have you seen it? I'll be like, no, I didn't watch it, but it's crap. You can't say that.
You can't say something's rubbish.
So hold on. So I hear about it from Jim Cornette and keep up with it like that. That's the problem. That's why you don't like it, because Jim Cornette doesn't like it. He's going to be giving you negative information about it. He's not going to be giving you the positives. You watch this podcast and our podcast here, and we'll give you the positives of it and the negatives. I won't just say that WWE, I think, is a really bad product right now, but I will give you the positives that they have got going there, like the Roman Reigns storyline, and I'll give you the negatives as well. I'm not going to be biased against either of them. If AEW do something wrong, I will tell you that they've done it wrong. Like AEW's Kenny Omega versus John Moxley in the death match, where the ring would have exploded and it was like a firework display when it exploded. It was so bad. I ripped him for it. Yeah, so obviously he's going to praise CM Punk's return. He obviously is going to do that because he doesn't want to get a GTS from CM Punk. But yeah, and I like some stuff from AEW, which is fine. But if you've not watched it for 9 months, dude, you can't say that it's a flop or it's bad because you haven't watched the 9 months of product. It's changed a lot in 9 months. So from January this year to now, AEW has changed. You know, they've got a new TV show. I think they've had 2 new TV shows. They've had Dark Elevation and then Rampage. Big Show signed. Mark Henry signed as a commentator. They've had the Blood and Guts match, which is the War Games match. That was brilliant until the end. There were so many good things about AEW in the past 9 months. I can't name them all off the top of my head. But you need to go and watch all 9 months of it and then come back and give me your honest opinion on that 9 months. You can't give me your opinion based on what Jim Cornette has said, because that's Jim Cornette's opinion, not yours. Am I wrong, though, Shaz?
No,
you
you're
can't
not
really
wrong.
say I don't like it. I haven't watched it in 9 months. It's crap. I'm just going off what Jim Cornette's told me.
Well, no, until you watch it yourself, you have to make an assessment of it.
Yeah, exactly. So before you watched AEW, you never said AEW is crap or AEW is good because you never watched it.
I can't say something's good unless I watched it, and I'd never seen it until now. So everything I tell you on the podcast is based on what I've seen.
Yeah, exactly. So your honest opinion of it is your honest opinion of it. You've been giving that whilst we've been on these shows since you started watching it, and it shows that you're enjoying it because you're really hyped up about the AEW pay-per-view all out that much that you watched it last night and you had work at like 8-9 o'clock this morning, bro. You would never have done that if that was WWE on a Sunday. If that was SummerSlam, bro, would we have done that? No chance.
No chance.
If it was AEW and you told me, bro, I would have watched it with you. I'm not even lying. I just didn't want to watch it on my own because I would have just fallen asleep on the sofa.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
But yeah, Kev, I get your point that you don't like it, but you have to give me a more valid reason of the fact that you don't like it because you've watched Jim Cornette's podcast or whatever, and he says it's the negative stuff. Also, have you all watched this channel called Darman? I've heard of it. They do small videos on stuff like don't judge someone before you know them and life lessons. Yeah, I've seen it on Facebook. I've seen some of their videos. It's very interesting videos to watch. What was that?
Nothing. It's just an ad I had to turn off.
All right, I was wondering where that was coming from. Then I'm like, we've got a surprise guest in here. Shaz, watch. I don't know if you know a show called Becoming the Elite.
I think
so it's the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega do this YouTube show called Becoming the Elite. And this week they were doing like a seance of trying to bring Adam Cole back from the dead. Because basically the way they see it is whilst you're in WWE, it's like you're not alive anymore. You're dead. You're unhappy and whatnot. And then at the end of the video, Adam Cole pops up like, where is everybody? And then he checks his phone and he goes, oh, it's been 4 years. It's really funny, man. You should watch it. It's only like a 3-minute video.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough.
What does this say? Also, do you all have the games? If you all do, can I battle you? So are you talking about the wrestling games? I don't really play WWE games, or an AEW don't have any games yet. So fortunately, I can't whoop you on those games, Kev, or Shaz for that matter. So he's talking about the Young Bucks here and Kenny Omega. He calls them Cucamonga Kids and Kenny Oliver. I have no idea why he would say that, and he's saying they stink. I don't get why. I don't get this hate against AEW. Kev, drop us your email address in the comment here, so I can drop you an email and we can work on getting you on the show, so I can get your actual thoughts properly on why you don't like AEW. But you can't come to the show saying that you don't like it based on Jim Cornette's views of it, because I won't accept it. I just won't accept that as a reason for not liking something based on someone else's views. You have to have your own views and your own opinion on it. You can't just say, I don't like it because Jim Cornette said not to like it, or he doesn't like it. But just drop your email here so I can see it, and I'll write it down, and we'll delete the comment after so nobody else sees it. And then we'll get in touch with you and we'll try and get you on the show, man. And I want your honest opinions on AEW and why you don't like it, not just based on Jim Cornette's views. Be really interesting to get, because most of the people in wrestling that I've spoke to like AEW. I think Kev's one of the only ones that I've kind of interacted with here on the podcast, and he doesn't like it. So it's quite interesting to try and get you on.
Absolutely, guys.
But yeah, if you could quickly drop your email address where you're commenting right now on YouTube, I'll write it down just before we close the show, and then I'll drop you an email, and we'll figure something out. Give him a couple of minutes to pop his email address in. I'll let you give your final thoughts on everything we spoke about today, Shaz, because I know I've ranted and gone on one for a while.
No, I just wanted to wrap it up by saying great pay-per-view. As always, so hyped about it. I probably end up watching it back over the weekend or something. Just
this guy, man, he's just all over AEW now, man.
Why not, man? Why not?
Why not, though? Why not? If you like it, you like it, bro. That's
exactly.
That's it.
But that's really it for my thoughts.
Oh, here he is. Here's Nadeem. No surprise. What are you on about? Oh, I'm guessing he's referring to the fact that I've rambled on and on. Hey, it's all right, Kev. That's just my brother who's here. You don't need to worry about him. He's not going to jack your email address, dude.
Oh, man, that's hilarious. Nice one, Nadeem.
As soon as I get it, I'll delete it. Don't worry. Yeah, Nadeem, I'm always ranting. You know me, bro. I rant on the phone to you every day about something.
Nadeem, this was supposed to be a quick episode. A quick episode turned into an hour of Shaz.
Dude, you know, like, if it's a quick episode on wrestling, it's at least an hour long, and it's just me ranting for half an hour. And then Shaz giving his views for half an hour.
The funny thing is, I was on a client call today, and they don't even rant as much as you rant, bro. I was like, this is hilarious.
Come on, bro. You've got to have a rant every now and then to get it off your chest, innit?
You have a rant every now and then.
Adam Cole turned up in AEW. Bryan Danielson, what's he called?
Bryan
Danielson turned up. You know what I mean? You've got to have a rant about people like that showing up. I mean, I was hyped for Adam Cole, man, because he's in NXT. He was one of my favorites, and he was brilliant back down there. So up in AEW, he's just gonna be smashing it, because he's gonna be able to. In WWE, they're restricted on their moveset. They're not allowed to do certain moves, but in AEW, they can do what they want, as long as they keep it safe.
That's true.
So you're going to see a lot more from Adam Cole in AEW than you did in NXT. You're going to see a different side of him, because I watched him in Ring of Honor. I've watched him in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he was a lot better there than he was in NXT. But I think he's had a chance in the 4 years at NXT to, perfect his craft with the best coaches around him.
Yeah, no, that's true. And it'll be interesting to see how he develops going forward.
Yeah, definitely, man, definitely. But I'm being told I've ranted too long, so we have to call it a day. It's getting late, and I'm getting some dirties and some dirty messages here telling me to get off now because it's quite late. So we're gonna have to call it a day, people. I'm joking, by the way. Yeah, but we are going to call it a night now. It is getting quite late. Man's got work at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's nearly 12. So I need to get some beauty sleep in it. But yeah, people, I really appreciate everyone tuning in. Appreciate the support, the comments and everything from Darren, Kev, Nadeem, everyone tuning in. And we'll see you on the next episode. Over to you, partner.
So as always, guys, thank you very much for tuning in today. I appreciate the love and support. We'll be back with further content, but as always, keep subscribing, keep sharing the love, share this on your social media platforms. And as always, we are on the race to 200. And as Nadeem has said, Nadeem's comment killed it, bro.
Yeah, it's right. We're not bringing that comment up. It's right. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about that comment. Carry on.
Yeah, as always, we're on the race to 200. We do actually at some point need to do the draw for the Fantasy Football Premier League, and we need to do it before this weekend.
We're going to do that on Wednesday on All Things Football.
Boom. We will also stay tuned for that. But guys, as always, much appreciated. Until next time.
Too sweet. Give me a too sweet, boy.